Hello everyone, and welcome to your Chem 113 review on electrolytes. My name is Jason and I work for the ASU Tutoring Centers. You've heard of electrolytes before. It's the stuff in Gatorade. So we're just going to kind of jump in. It's going to be a very definition heavy video. So before we can talk about electrolytes, let's first remember what a solution is. So a solution it's a homogeneous mixture of two or more substances. So homogeneous mixture meaning that it's uniform throughout. So if you were to take a piece of the solution and another piece of the solution, those two pieces would look exactly the same. Think of salt water, for instance. The salt is kind of just spread all throughout the water, right? Now there's two parts to a solution. There's the thing called the solvent, and there's the thing called the solute. Okay, so the solvent is the thing that's in a greater quantity. It's the thing that does the dissolving. And the solute is the thing in smaller quantity. And this is the thing that dissolves. So typically this is like a liquid, and this is a solid that when dropped into the liquid starts to dissolve. So again, with salt water, the water is the solvent and the salt is the solute. When you drop the salt in the liquid, all of those little salt ions, remember table salt is NaCl, sodium chloride. When you drop it in water, they start to dissociate. The bond between the sodium and the chloride isn't that strong, so it starts to break apart into the sodium ion and the chlorine ion. So that's what a solute does. It breaks apart into ions, okay? So an electrolyte, let me drop that term for you. An electrolyte is a substance whose aqueous solutions contain ions. Substance whose aqueous solution contain ions. Okay, so essentially electrolytes and solutes are pretty much the same thing. Solutes don't necessarily have to dissolve into ions. It's just that they typically do. So electrolytes are just a certain type of solute that dissolves into ions. So the sodium chloride, for instance, when you drop it in the water and it dissociates into ions, the sodium ion and the salt ion, because it does that, we would consider the salt an electrolyte. Okay. So electrolytes dissolve in solution into ions. Cool. So then there's different types of electrolytes. There's the strong electrolytes. And these dissolve completely. So if you were to drop a strong electrolyte into a solution, it would dissolve entirely into ions. There wouldn't be any of the original solution left. Weak electrolytes, I mean, you could probably guess. They only dissolve partially. So if you were to drop a weak electrolyte into solution, some of it would dissolve, but the rest of it would pretty much probably settle on the bottom of your solution. It would still be there in its solid state. It won't have dissociated into aqueous ions. Okay. So an example of a strong electrolyte, as we have brought up about 1 million times, is like table salt, but more generally just ionic compounds in general. Most of them, at least. I guess some of them don't necessarily have to, but most ionic compounds will dissociate into ions. Guess that makes sense. And then all strong acids. All strong acids will dissociate into, will dissociate entirely. That's sort of what defines a strong acid. So remember, an acid, the way that we're thinking about it currently, and we will redefine it soon, is it's an ionic compound where hydrogen is the cation, okay? As for weak electrolytes, this would be something like a weak acid, like acetic acid, for instance. So acetic acid is an ionic compound, but that's why I said most ionic compounds. So weak acids are ones that don't dissociate completely, and so for like acetic acid, which is HC2H3O2, it partially dissolves into hydrogen ions and acetate ions, but it doesn't dissociate. I don't know why I put it squared there, but it does not dissociate entirely. There is still bits of the starting acetic acid that remains inside of the container, okay? But strong acids will dissociate entirely, such as like sodium chloride, sodium chloride is an ionic compound that dissociates entirely. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid that dissociates entirely, okay? So strong electrolytes completely dissolve, whereas weak electrolytes only partially dissolve. All right, well, thank you for watching. If you want more information about the tutoring services we have available to you on all four of the main ASU campuses and online, please check out tutoring.asu.edu/content/tutor-search. By going here, you can get information about specific tutors at your campus or online that can help you with your specific class. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.